Going to get started. We have a young audience member with us this morning, 2-year-old Jocelyn. Important for her. Yes. Good morning. My name is DJ Thompson. I'm the president and CEO of the Muskogee Chamber of Commerce, and we are your host for today. Make sure I don't squeal. We are your hosts for today and appreciate you being here and coming out for what is we consider a very important initiative and mission here. So I just want to give you a little bit of background. Mr. McPeak will come up in a few minutes to be our moderator, but I am going to ask just a few things first and make sure the candidates are ready to go. Would you please silence your cell phones? Do ask that if you want to keep them on vibrate. If you need to take a call, will you please step out so that we don't interrupt the process here? I appreciate that. Okay, our candidates have drawn for positions in answering the questions. They did that this morning. Mayor Coburn drew number 1. Randy Howard number 2, and D. Boots number 3. That's why you see them seated the way they are. The mayor will have the opportunity to answer the first question and do his opening statement first, followed by the other 2 gentlemen, and then we will rotate. So on the second question, Randy will answer first, and Dee will answer second, and the mayor third. So I just want to let you know how that's going to go. Is everyone at the table okay? Understand that? Okay. So Mr. McPeak will read the question, and it certainly is acceptable for you to ask him to repeat it if you need to. That will be fine. You will have 2 minutes to answer each question. At the end of the 2 minutes, we will cut you off. I will be sitting here doing a countdown for you, so you'll know as the increments go by how much time you have left to answer. So just know that if you keep going, Mr. McPeak is probably going to cut you off, okay? So I think those are the rules. So let me introduce Mr. Jerry McPeak, who's going to be our moderator this morning. Most of you probably know him. He's a former state representative, served for 12 years until his term ended and was termed out. He used to teach at Connors State College before he served as a representative. Derek, are you fixing my... Okay, thank you. He's also the founder and helps run the Be a Champ Youth Camp every year down at Connors State College, and is currently the tax commissioner. Can you still hear me? Tax commissioner and chief of staff for the Creek Nation. So please help me welcome Jerry McPeak.
I appreciate being invited to do this, and I did enjoy serving you guys during my state representative time. You notice I said I enjoyed serving you. I didn't say I necessarily enjoyed being a state representative, so there is a difference there. How much our minds run alike, one thing I put on here was cell phones. DJ and I are the only ones who have seen these questions, so they haven't been out. There's no possibility that these 3 gentlemen may have seen them. I think it's important to note that of the candidates, we have 3 here. These are public offices they're going to hold. When you go into public office, you begin immediately, then everything you do, just about everything you do is public. You're going to make public statements and you're going to make public decisions. So it's important that you recognize that what you say is to be consumed by and for the public. So I appreciate you gentlemen having the courage to be here today, to be able to tell us how you feel about things, and running the risk of saying things that some people may not agree with, but you have the courage to be here and do that, and I certainly appreciate that. Okay, these gentlemen have drawn for order to respond, and we're going to rotate those each time. We're going to get the elephant out of the room first, because I think...
I'm already interrupting you. I forgot to mention, you do have colored cards on your tables and some pens. If you have questions throughout the morning, we will come around and pick some of those up, and if time allows, we'll try to address those at the end of the forum. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. She says, I want you to recognize, look, she's prepared. 2 minutes, 1 minute. And I don't think she has one that says shut up, but she's got one that says something about like that. We're going to rotate. They did the drawing, and the first question the mayor will respond to first, and then Mr. Howard, and then Mr. Boots. And like I said, we're going to get the elephant out of the room first. The most popular thing right now, the thing that's in the forefront of everyone's mind, I think, is the 69 bypass. So let's just get that out of the way first, and then we'll get on some other questions after that. All she had was an hourglass. I said, that's not going to work. Give you guys time to be thinking about this while they're operating. What they're doing is searching for a timer, I guess. But I can count 1,001, 1,002. I can get to 60 if someone else can get to the next 60. The question is, ODOT has made, this is the question, gentlemen. ODOT has made an 8-year plan to relocate Highway 69 and have a bypass around Muskogee. This is a pretty simple question because the next part of it says, are you for or against the plan and why? The state capitol used to have a heck of a hard time having people say yes and no. Pretty simple. Are you for or against the plan and why? Are we ready to begin? All right. And our first responder will be Mayor Coburn.
Thank you, Jerry. Now, are we supposed to do the 2-minute introduction to start?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. I'd rather get to the questions.
They didn't hire me for this because I was so dadgum good and efficient, by the way. Well, we'll just start with you then. We're going to have a 2-minute introduction, and then at the end, we'll have a 2-minute conclusion, if I remember it. And if we don't, you'll tell me. Or you'll tell me, or you'll tell me, right?
Good morning, and I'm glad to see you here. I'm Bob Coburn. I'm the mayor of Muskogee, and I have been for the last 6 years. Served 2 years on the city council. It's been a pleasure. It's been a real pleasure to be mayor of the city. I think there's been a lot accomplished in the city of Muskogee. And with that, let me say, excuse me, let me say that my wife is here, Gwen, right here, who allows me some time to do this volunteer job as a politician, I guess you'd say. And then my daughter, Jamie, is here also, and she helps us by running our business, which gives me a lot of latitude in terms of having a schedule that allows me to do what needs to be done to be mayor of the city. Anyway, back to being mayor of the city. It's been a real opportunity for me to meet and see the issues that Muskogee deals with. One of the processes that we did was AIM several years ago, and that brought 1,200 people together in action in Muskogee to identify the things that need to happen as a city. And many, many of those things have been accomplished, but it was the citizen input and engagement that brought that process together. So it's been a great opportunity for me to have an opportunity to be involved in that process during the AIM initiatives being identified, and to get to see those lived out in our community and the impact and the change that makes. I look forward to serving the next 2 years, and I would ask you for your vote on February the 13th to re-elect me as mayor of the city of Muskogee. Thank you.
Mr. Howard and Mr. Boots are both candidates for Ward 3.
Hi, I'm Randy Howard. I've had the pleasure of serving on the City Council from 2010 to 2014. It's a very educational experience. I've been a citizen of Muskogee for over 40 years. I've raised my family, I'm raising my grandnieces, and I have a vested interest in Muskogee. And I think that we need to be involved. We need to care about what's going on. We need to learn. We need to educate ourselves. And I learned a lot the first 4 years. I think we accomplished a lot the first 4 years. I think we need to continue with this. Muskogee is growing, and we need people to lead, to take care, and to be concerned and be positive about the future of Muskogee. And I can do that. I'm a very positive person. I believe we always got to put our best foot forward and find the best thing about Muskogee and promote that. and it'd be an honor to serve another 4 years for the City Council. That's about all I've got to say, except thank you very much for showing up today. It shows me that you care, and I'm excited.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name's D. Boots. My legal name is Dale Leroy Boots Jr. I'm Hispanic, if you can't tell by the R's in my name. I want to apologize to Randy for my daughter. She's 2, and she knows no boundaries at this moment. I'm sorry about that, Randy. I have 4 kids, Tyler, Ashley, Marissa, and Jocelyn. They're my 4 main reasons for doing what I'm doing, for running for City Council. I want this city to be better for them when they're older. I've been on numerous boards. Me and Randy served on the Civic Center board for numerous years together. Very active with Shriners, Masons. I'm a veteran. I say a lot, I apologize. I'm running for City Council in Ward 3, and I think that I would be the best representative for that ward. I really hope that on February 13th you'll come out and vote for me, and I appreciate y'all being here today.
Now, we get to that elephant in the room, the bypass. The one reason why they let me do things like this is when I screw up, it doesn't seem to bother me. And it doesn't. Okay, and our order again, we'll start with Mayor, then Mr. Howard, then Mr. Boots, and it will rotate after with each question, the one that goes first. This question is, ODOT has made an 8-year plan to relocate Highway 69 and have a bypass around Muskogee. I repeat again, are you for or against the plan, and why?
Okay, first you said, were you for it or against it? Now you're asking if I'm for it or against it. There is no question that I am not in favor. I am against the 69 bypass. The reason that I say that is this. We have, in the last several years, we have had $100 million of investment along 69 Highway, the existing 69 Highway. Why in the world would we take and move all of our commercial traffic north and south, which is 23, 24, 25,000 vehicles a day, move those to the west by a mile away from the $100 million worth of investment that has been made? If you start at one end kind of to the north, you'll see a Pilot truck stop. If you get a little further south and you see a Quick Trip, and you see 700 hotel rooms that have been built in our community. You move a little further and you come to the corner of a new Taco Bell location, a renovated McDonald's location. Move further to the south and you see opportunities everywhere. My thought is this: let's take a lot less money than $80 million, and nothing ever happens at the state level on highway projects that happens on budget. So let's assume 80 million is not the top number, but that's the starting number. Let's take that $80 million and do 2 things with it. One is, let's improve 69 Highway to the south as they did to the north, and let's see what the statistics look like then from the standpoint of safety and the speed of moving goods and services through the community. The north work has really improved the investment, has moved the speed of traffic, and has improved the safety. So I think those things could be done. And then we have $100 million at the port on the waterway system of unfunded maintenance. Let's take that money, if we have all that money available, and put it at the port and take care of the maintenance that needs to be done that could shut our port down.
I was ignoring it.
You took up part of my time, thank you. I am against it, and I'll say this. If you've ever traveled, you went from one town to another one, like going to Texas. Used to, we go through Denton, Sherman, and if you need to stop and get gas or whatever, if there's a nice clean place, you'll stop. But with the bypass, I don't get off. I'm afraid that if I get down to there, getting back on that 69 highway, it's going to be a lot more difficult than, getting off. And unless I'm just running smooth out of gas, I'm going to keep on going. I'm not going to stop. And that will happen in Muskogee too. There's a lot of good things here in Muskogee that, people recognize when they come through. They'll see that, Arnold Heights Park, the signs and, the festivals that are going on. And if they drive by, they'll never know it unless they Google it. And why would they Google it if they don't know? I'm against it. I think it's a waste of money, and our education system right now needs all the money they get. If they got that much money, give it to the education system. I think that's the smartest move they could do. But I am very much opposed to the bypass around Muskogee.
I want to come out clearly and very purposefully in stating that I am against the bypass. I agree with what Bob and Randy have both said. I think it'll be very detrimental to our existing businesses. I think it'll be detrimental to our community. I think that they need to stick to their original 8-year plan that's 6 years into existence right now, and they need to widen 69 to the south. I think that they need to look into making the crosswalk there at 69 and Hancock. I think they need to bury it like they have the one to the north, level that out so the truckers can keep moving. They always struggle with that hill, it seems. Change that, widen that open, which is, I believe, in the already existing 8-year plan. And the problem that it scares me is I was at that meeting at the hotels, and the question that was asked to him was all these questions and concerns, and yet he stated simply, McAllister, all these other towns had these same concerns, these same questions, and we did it anyway. That should scare us here in Muskogee. That simple statement. They all had the same questions, same concerns, and we did it anyway. So we need to, as a community, figure out how to stop that action.
Thank you, gentlemen. Very well informed answers. Our second question, and by the turnout that we have for our people who are candidates, a very appropriate question, I think. How would you, as city council member, go about increasing the level of civic engagement in the city of Muskogee? I'll repeat that. With advantage of the first one, and Mr. Howard will go first. How would you, as a city council member, go about increasing the level of civic engagement in the city of Muskogee?
That is $1 million question. It's very disappointing to see people disengage in what's going on in the city. I'm very proud of this city. I want to be a part of it. I belong to civic organizations and everything else, and we talk about things, and we try to get people to get involved. I'll just say this. This could be very detrimental to me or what, but I'm going to speak my mind. I'm going to be very honest. A few years ago, we had this word-only voting, and it passed. And since then, we've had voter apathy, people not getting out and voting. We had, in my Ward 3, the last time we voted back in 2014, because 2016, Derek ran unopposed, there was 289 people voted out of 10,000. I think that people thought, I only get to vote for one person. Why bother? And I think we need to do whatever we can to get people re-engaged. Get them to care. I care. You care. But get our neighbors to care. We need to get people back out voting. That's our leaders. That's how we elect our leaders. And if we let a small fraction people to pick our leaders, then we deserve what we're getting. I think we need to get people re-involved, re-engaged, and get them out and vote. Whatever we need to do that, then that's what we need to do.
Increasing the level of civic engagement in Muskogee. As Randy stated, that's about the million-dollar question. Obviously, everybody in this room cares because you've taken the time out of your busy days to be here. How to get other people engaged, I don't really have a direct answer for that. I try to encourage all my friends to do things, to get out. You know, it always seems with the younger crowds that there's always that question, well, there's nothing to do in Muskogee. There's so many events going on. The Chamber has a wonderful website that, you know, lets everybody know everything that's going on. They send out emails on Mondays, Saturdays that let you know, hey, this is what's going on this weekend. This is what's going on this week throughout our community. Those social media sites are so strong now. The younger generation, I look out across this room and I see most everybody's more my age. This younger generation is just all about that cell phone. If it's not on that cell phone, then they have no clue about it being out there. So, you know, maybe different social media sites, start promoting it there, but get the word out. Tell your friends, tell your kids that, hey, we do have a chamber-sponsored website that lets you know, hey, exactly what is going on in Muskogee. You know, just as in today, I've talked to 2 people this morning that didn't even have a clue that this debate was going on today. Like DJ's, I've heard her say, it's hard to figure out where do you advertise because you do everything you can to advertise and to get people involved and you still get no involvement. So I don't have the answer to that million-dollar question.
Civic engagement, how do we get people involved? The AIM process that I mentioned earlier brought 1,200 people out to say, where are we now? Where are we going? How are we going to get there? OU Quality Communities Institute came and did a study for us downtown. Several hundred people came out to look at their ideas, to give their input. And I think the things that happen in Muskogee, they need to engage people in the process. And that's ways that we engage people in the process. Several others, talking about voter turnout. Voter turnout in Muskogee, the last time I looked, was about 12 or 14% of the people that are registered voters, not total population, registered voters, get out and vote in the community. Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame, Muskogee Little Theater, Chamber of Commerce, Visit Muskogee app. All those things are to engage you, give quality of life in Muskogee, and to engage you in the process of being a part of Muskogee. It's a tough thing to get civic involvement. We've already been experienced that. Another thing that I had put in my response to the newspaper, and I think it's valid to talk about, we can have all the economic and retail development engaged that we want, but if we don't engage ourselves by becoming involved in the community from a retail standpoint and a restaurant standpoint, all we've done is take the same pie and divided it up into smaller pieces. And that won't work. We can't continue at the pace that we have now and maintain the momentum that we have now unless we bring other people into our community. Part of civic engagement is involving other people in our community. So I would encourage you to be a part, and I would encourage you to invite other people to be a part of the many good things that are going on, including many things that are going on downtown Muskogee that are starting to happen.
Thank you, gentlemen, again. I think that what Mr. Howard said was having the courage to stand up here and make a statement and be measured by that is important, that these gentlemen are here. Okay. Our third question, and the leader for this question will be Mr. Boots. Will go first. The question is, Muskogee's population has been stagnant at 40,000 for over 40 years. How can Muskogee encourage growth in the resident population? We will follow that up with a couple of follow-up questions. You might include in your answer, what role should the office you're seeking retain in retaining or attracting businesses to the area? And what questions do we need to ask about new commercial and industrial development? And we may give you 3 minutes for that. We'll give you 3 minutes for that. If you need me at any time to repeat any portion of that, because it's a lot to just.
Population. I have a 23-year-old, I have a 21-year-old. They both have been throughout my household, raised, went to college, and then they moved to Tulsa. And much to Dad's dislike, they moved to Tulsa, and I wanted them to stay here. I wanted them close. I wanted them where I could protect them, where I could help them. And they're like, Dad, there's nothing here in Muskogee to do. There's no social, people in Muskogee just don't do anything. How do we, if we can't keep our college-age kids coming back to Muskogee, if we can't draw them back here to stay here, to reside here, have jobs here, we're in trouble. I love what the city's doing with the downtown district. They're trying to bring in nightlife. They're trying to bring in apartments, places for them to live, social gathering places. As far as commercial development, exactly like Bob said, unless we draw them jobs here that helps with the money for them to spend at the restaurants, to spend at the clothing stores, we're in trouble because it all trickles down. We've got to be able to sustain the businesses that we have. If we can't do that, we're fighting an uphill battle. Can you repeat that?
You bet.
Sorry.
I sure understand that. What role should the office you seek have in retaining or attracting businesses to the area? And what questions should be asked about new commercial and industrial development? Retaining and attracting.
This office has everything to do with drawing people here. This office dictates what those businesses are going to have to abide by. So therefore, city council and mayor position is extremely important in Muskogee because it sets the precedence for how is our community going to be run. What kind of rules are they going to have to be engaged by? I apologize. I'm not a politician.
That's too many parts of this thing. Industrial, commercial, new commercial and industrial development. How about anything about improving those things?
Like I said, industrial and development is something we desperately need to be bringing to Muskogee. Bring the industry. With the industry comes the jobs, comes the local money, the local taxes. That sustains everything that we already have growing in Muskogee.
I would ask for easier questions on the next couple, if that's okay. This one's getting a little tough. The thing that I had responded when Ms. Phoenix had asked this question in the article and in the questions that we were responding to was growth. GROWTH, which was the title used on the State of the City several years ago. It's all about growth. What is our problem? Our problem is the lack of growth, whether that's population growth, whether that's growth in economic job development. Am I doing something wrong?
I'll help you with this. If you get these positions, gentlemen, you know there's going to be a lot of static. No. If you get these jobs, you need to understand there's going to be a lot of static that comes with it. So this is just practice.
All right. Oh, that's better.
Time's up, by the way.
So, thank you, I appreciate that. Growth, 40 years and no growth in population, so how do we do that? We develop quality in the community, which is quality of life, and give opportunity for people to want to stay and live in Muskogee. And I think we're going to see in our next census population a slight uptick in growth, which hasn't existed in the past. But we have to create those opportunities. Part of that's done through incentivization. We have a housing incentive program. We've seen 13 new houses start as a result of that in 2017. And three other areas. From a retail standpoint, we have had 27 new businesses open in about the last 12 or 14 months. That hadn't happened in the history of Muskogee in recent past. That gives people a reason to want to be in Muskogee, to live in Muskogee, and to raise their children here and work and enjoy the quality of life here. Housing incentives. Those 13 houses that have started partially are the result of the City of Muskogee Foundation, their generous contribution in terms of grant opportunities, which gave us the chance to tear down in the community 729 structures, I think it was, that we took down in the community, derelict structures in the community. Now you're beginning to see the infill housing built back in the community. That's growth, that's change. People see that as opportunity. From an economic development standpoint, last year, 2017, there were 3 plants locally in our existing inventory of industrial jobs that added 135 jobs in our community that paid the average $54,000 a year. Well, I'm being criticized because all I'm about is retail development. These things are going on in the community. And I would submit to you that a $54,000 average job and 135 of those is a sustainable wage in our community and one to be proud of. The retail sector that I was talking about, they have managers, they have owners, they have property owners involved in those. They have all levels of management and sales staff in those retail restaurants and in those opportunities. Those are quality jobs at every level. And that is exactly what we need in Muskogee.
Kim reminded me to talk to you about wireless microphones. Kind of a neat deal. Yeah, my time's up. All right. Several years ago when I was on council, we started, the cleanup of Muskogee. With the dirt houses like he talked. We're getting that done. There is no magic bullet. All it takes is work, and it takes commitment to move forward. Sometimes we don't move fast enough, but we're moving. And I think that's what we're doing right now. We're trying to continue with our city leaders that care, that want to get out there and make things happen. We need our youth to come back in. We need our youth to be involved. We need more Tyler Hammonds out here willing to get involved with the city. That's what we need. Because my kids and me, we have different ways of thinking about things. We have different wants. We need to figure out what our kids want and try to move forward that. Because once we get them engaged, then we have new growth. If we don't have new growth, then we're going to die on the vine. And I think I've got a lot of confidence in our youth in Muskogee. I think that they'll figure out some way to come in. And like I say, it's a slow growth, but we need to keep moving and we need to keep working on the city. As far as our development for new businesses, we need to figure out some way to incentivize people that's already here that might be struggling to help them out with, to keep them in business. We have a lot of new places that are opening up downtown, new restaurants and stuff that are really nice places. They're not commercial places. They're local mom and pop organizations. And I think we need to figure out, hey, how do we honor these people? We need to go support them. When it comes to economic development, getting businesses here, we have a lot of people working hard to get people in here. It's just a matter of time. And that's what we need. Just keep on moving forward. as I say in Nemo, keep on swimming. So thank you very much.
Everybody get a crack at that? You're gonna take another crack at it? You go, move on, okay. Gentlemen, we're gonna try this a little different way. Excuse me. We'll try this a little different way. This is about sales tax revenues, but I think we'll take it in 3 parts. The first part is, how would you deal with declining tax revenues? What parts of the budget would you cut? What programs or services are essential and should never be cut? Then we'll talk about taxes next, and we'll also talk about internet sales tax. We'll take those one at a time, so I will repeat the question. Well, our first part is this. First part, how would you deal with declining tax revenues? What parts of the budget would you cut? What programs or services are essential and should never be cut? That's one question. Yes, let's get 3 minutes on that. How would you deal with declining tax revenues? What parts of the budget would you cut? What programs or services are essential and should never be cut? Over here first up, sir.
Declining sales tax revenue. Sales tax is one of the things that's near and dear to me. I used to be in the retail business. And I've gotten a chance by my involvement with the city to understand the impact that it has on a city. $24 million a year is what we generate in sales tax in our community, generally speaking, give or take a little bit. That is the bulk of the city's budget. Our city budget from a revenue standpoint comes from sales tax, fines, and fees and grants. We don't have any other sources. $24 million of the $32 or $4 million that the revenue the city has comes from sales tax. There isn't anything more important than sales tax from my standpoint. Our sales tax is basically flat if we look at it realistically, and we can say that over the last 5 years. Hadn't moved more than a percent or so up or down. So in terms of cutting with declining sales tax from the city standpoint, I don't think we need to cut any essential services that we have. And I would say that, followed by this. Mike Miller has created the most incredible management staff for the city of Muskogee that we have had in the 8 years that I have been involved to this point. We are better positioned today to move forward and take advantage of those things through his leadership skill. The city council casts the vision, but the city manager and the city staff carry out that vision. We don't control the day-to-day operations of the city. The city manager does that. He's created that kind of environment, which will grow our retail in our community, which will grow our jobs in the community. So to say we need to cut back, I wouldn't say that. We need to operate as efficiently as we possibly can with the services that we offer. We need to properly maintain the level of cost for services so the city does not go in the hole providing the essential services that we have. We have done that the last several years. We have taken those tough positions and made those votes which bring those service costs to where they need to be. And I think we're moving in the right direction. I am very disappointed in our sales tax response the last several years. If you take the amount of new retail opportunity that we have, we are not gaining in sales tax with the exception of our use tax this past year, which probably has something to do with the Amazon agreement on sales tax that was signed with the Oklahoma Tax Commission. So we'll attribute some portion of it to that internet sales. The issue that I think we need to focus on, and won't be able to finish it in this comment, but internet sales were 3% 10 years ago. Internet sales now nationally are 9.3% of all sales that take place.
We're going to give you a chance to get to other parts of this. Okay. Who is next?
I think it's me.
Yeah, all right.
I'm so glad you guys came up with some good questions. You know, there's a lot of things that I don't know. And, you know, when it comes to essential services, what is essential services? I know that we have programs involved for our city elderly people and disabled veterans to keep their services like water, sewer, at a cost where it's, you know, they're on fixed income. You know, they need, you know, to watch what they're doing, and we need to help protect that, you know, services for them with a fixed income. Now, I don't know. I just wished I knew more to be able to give a good answer, but I don't know. But it's one of those things where we have to consider. I mean, when you're talking about the tax services, I don't know. That's just honest answer. I don't know what we need to do. You can put that 2 minutes down because I don't need any more. D?
Can I borrow 2 minutes?
You're only allotted so many words a day.
I can answer that.
I listen to these two gentlemen speak, and I am amazed because they are such wonderful speakers. I think to myself, gosh, I wish I was that good at it. I'm not a politician, so I don't have all the answers. Like Randy stated, I don't know all the essentials of what it takes to run this city. If elected, I hope to learn those. I agree with Bob. We need to streamline our efficiency. I don't think any of our essential programs should be cut. Tax-wise, I think we're headed in a bad direction unless we start taxing the internet services. My wife's probably one of the worst ones because this year, all of our Christmas came by UPS. Our kids think the Santa Claus wears a brown suit instead of a red one. I think, to be fair about the taxes, they really need to tax all of your internet purchases just like they would tax the local mom and pop shops. Unfortunately, as you can see with our mall, the trend for the local mom and pop shops, the local businesses, the local retail stores seems to be declining. The answer for that, I don't know. I think it goes back to our youth again, that most of our kids nowadays shop off that cell phone. They don't want to go to the store. They don't want to go shopping. They don't want to go walk the mall. In my day, walking the mall was the best thing ever. That was your chance to meet a pretty girl, get a cold Dr. Pepper, eat a slice of pizza. Nowadays, they get on that cell phone, they punch in a number, and it's delivered to their front door. That's about all I got to say on that.
I'll use this one as a static. You notice tonight as a static. For you who are out there, I see some others who have political offices, and I will tell you, for you folks who are out there, this next question is the one that no one running for political office ever wants to be asked. Does this make you feel more comfortable, gentlemen? I was nervous before I got here this morning. I know you guys had to be. Okay. Drum roll, or wondering what this is. I guarantee you when you hear it, you'll agree. Would you support higher taxes to maintain current levels of services expected by your residents? Yes or no, and why? Or are there other ways to generate revenue? Would you support higher taxes to maintain current levels of services expected by your residents? Or are there other ways to generate revenue? There will be a follow-up to this as well, which will be a little easier, actually.
Surely didn't ask to increase.
Let's rotate that. I'm sorry. This is so easy, Randy, they're going to let you have it first. Let's get to it.
You know, do you want to beat me with a stick or a switch? You know, nobody likes taxes, but sometimes we have to pay up. We have to do what we have to do, you know, to maintain services. You know, the one thing that, you know, we had discussions on back when I was on the council was, you know, the city water rates, you know, and trash rates. You know, our cost on those things keep going up. And we got to get the money somewhere. And it passes right on down to the citizens. I mean, we got to pay up. I don't want tax, but if I want the services, I'll pay it. And that's just one of those necessary evils. I'm sorry, but we got to pay the taxes if we got to do it. There is no other way to bring money in. So, do I support taxes to keep services? Yes, I do. But again, I think we need to protect our elderly, our veterans, to keep them from their services going without losing. Okay?
Higher taxes. The age-old question that nobody definitely wants to answer. I pay a lot in property taxes, me and my wife do. You know, I realize our property taxes don't affect our city's budget and everything on the bottom line. Unfortunately, taxes are a reality of life. I don't support raising taxes, but I do support the fact that we're going to have taxes to adequately cover our expenses. It simply comes down to nobody wants taxes, nobody wants them higher, but they're just a reality of life. So keep in mind, there's two people you can't get away from in life, the tax man and the Grim Reaper.
Would I increase tax rates? No. Let me repeat that. No. And the reason I say that is this. 9.15% is enough. Okay, that's 4.5% that goes to the state of Oklahoma. That's 4% that goes to the city and 0.65% that goes to the county. If 4% is not enough taxes on $600 million worth of sales, then something is wrong. We're either not efficient in the delivery of our services or we're wasting money. And I can assure you, the city is not wasting services, not wasting money on services. No question about that. We have got to do what we can do to increase the sales tax, not the increase the sales tax rate, increase the sales that generate the sales tax in our community. We spend $600 million in our community by the community area that we are. We spend $700 million outside of our community, not just internet sales, but sales when we go and buy it in another community. So what you're doing when you do that is you're giving Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Dallas, you're giving them your tax money to provide you with fire service, to provide you with police protection, to provide you with a garbage collection service, and those other city services that are offered. It's essential that we shop Muskogee, not because we're the best, but because we owe it to our city, we owe it to our staff, our employees, to shop here and support them for the success of Muskogee, to build up Muskogee. The only way we're going to increase our revenue from my standpoint is through efficiency and through the increase of revenue through increased sales tax, which is absolutely essential that we shop local and have sales local.
I told you we're going to love that one. This may not be easier, but it follows along the same line. Even though we recognize it is not the city's choice, we still would like to know how you feel about establishing an internet sales tax. An internet sales tax. 1 minute.
Yeah, I can keep this one pretty short and sweet. As I stated in my earlier statement, I feel that it's just fair that if you buy it off the internet, you ought to be paying the taxes. We as a city should be benefiting from the sales of that just like you would if you went into the local mom and pop shops. I think it's just a fair thing. Right now, to me, they're kind of beating the system. Make it fair, tax it. Definitely.
Did I see you say that, would we be in favor of initiating a city internet sales tax?
Internet sales tax.
Okay, internet sales tax, from my standpoint, is this. We can't address it at the local level. It's either got to be addressed at the state level or at the national level. Addressing it at the state level is being done to some degree. It is basically getting no attention whatsoever at the national level, and here is why. We are the only state that cities are purely sales tax driven. So 49 other states are driven by a multitude of taxes, a sharing of taxes, whether that's ad valorem, sales tax, or other taxes and fees. We are the only state that is purely sales tax driven. So you've got over 400 cities in our state that get nothing more than sales tax. And to make the point for you to understand sales tax, imagine a small community that has a grocery store and a convenience store. The convenience store was going to close their operation. And the person I was talking to said, you know what kind of impact that has on us? We can't pay our city employees, period. We have just reduced 50% of our revenue. We're going to have to shut down services. Well, that same impact happens at our level. We have 457 employees. We've got to address it at the national level. The first conversation I had with Mark Wayne Mullen, he said, I have no idea what you're even talking about in terms of internet sales tax. Now he well understands what we're talking about in terms of internet sales tax and the impact it has on communities. I mentioned a minute ago the increase in sales that is happening over the internet. 10 years ago, 3%. Today, 9.3%. From 2016, I believe that information is, from the national level. Devastating effect. It has to be addressed at the national level where people pay sales tax or the sale occurs, and that's when you receive it.
Yes. I'll make it simple. I mean, what Bob said, it has to be on a national level. It can't be, it's like stopping the water at the end of the hose instead of at the hydrant. That's the only way we can look at it. We got to do it at the national level. We need some help.
Actually, I didn't understand what you were asking. To clarify for you folks who may not know, but I think all of you do, this can't be done at the city level. State level can add some pressure to that as well, but we just want to know whether you're for it or against it. We actually have some folks who, beyond my understanding, why they'd be against that, but they are. So thank you for your response. That didn't cost anything extra, by the way. Okay, rocking on to our fifth question. There is much talk about affordable housing and that Muskogee continues to need more. What would you change about the city's current development policies and practices that have contributed to this situation? I'll go through it one more time. There is much talk about affordable housing and that Muskogee continues to need more. What would you change about the city's current development policies and practices that have contributed to this situation? For all three of you gentlemen, I'll add this. There are some things that you have in place now where you're helping that situation. So it's not that you're not doing anything. That's not the intention of the question. Okay?
I think Muskogee's definitely on the right track with the housing, but we need to keep in mind that we definitely need industry coming here also to support that housing. I have 20 rent houses. A lot of the people that can afford the $200 and $300 and $400 a month, two-bedroom houses can't afford the $800 a month downtown apartment. As far as tearing houses down in Muskogee, getting rid of the derelict properties, I think Muskogee is doing a fantastic job. These houses, these eyesores, they need to come down. We've got the money flowing now supporting that program. Definitely, you know, the tickets, right, you know, fining them for not maintaining their properties. That's a big thing to me. I really feel that it should be fair for everybody across the board, and, you know, make Muskogee look better. If it looks better, looks more attractive, you can't attract fish with just an old brown bobber and no hook on it. So.
Regarding housing, 2 or 3 things. City of Muskogee Foundation granted us the opportunity to provide a housing incentive program. We did that along with the demolition program to begin infill housing. So any house any lot that has previously had a home on it, you can get an incentive. Well, how much is the incentive? The incentive is up to $25,000 on a home. It's a sliding scale. You can build a home that's $100,000. You can build a home that's $150,000, $200,000, $250,000, and on a sliding scale, you get a reduction in that price, so to speak, through the incentive. We began to see 13 of those. We've used all the money we have. We'll go back to the foundation for more money for housing incentive. But we have used all that money in the incentive. Arts District housing. South of the Oklahoma Music Hall of Fame, the housing units that were put in there, think about that, $4.8 million worth of housing, which gave people the opportunity to move up to a much nicer home situation. And in a period of 15 years, they had a chance for ownership of a home, not rental of a home, not that rental is bad, but we want home owners in the community, not home renters in the community, to increase from the standpoint of providing additional ad valorem tax. So again, those things are essential to our community. The housing demo, we had to get started, and we did in a major way in that. Downtown loft apartments, we've had a slow process in getting started with downtown loft apartments, but it looks like we're getting ready to start in a matter of just a few months. Downtown housing, we need people downtown living to help live there, support those businesses, and besides, it's just part of it's the cool factor of living downtown. I learned that in a trip to Muskogee when I had a chance to see downtown living, which was a husband and a wife and 2 children living in a downtown apartment, and loved it.
I think when it comes to housing, ownership is very prideful. To own your own home, you take pride in it. You take care of the yard. You take care of your neighborhood. And I think that's what, you know, we did whenever we started cleaning up Muskogee. We started tearing down the derelict houses. I had so many complaints coming to me. There was this abandoned house next to me with the grass, the tall grass, and everything else. And we started this, you know, we were demolishing about 40 houses a year. And there's another 40 to 50 coming on that same year. So we weren't making any headway. And we got into, you know, getting the foundation to give us money so we could demo these houses and get rid of them. And in doing that, we made lots cleaner. We made places a lot safer. And, you know, we've got a program going on now, like the Housing in Muskogee, where we're getting grants. And it's just about building houses, about ownership of the houses. And we have a lot of Section 8 housing here that we need, but we need more home ownership. We need to bring that, keep that going. So, anyway, I think we're doing a good job of, you know, promoting it. So, keep it on.
Our final question of the day from that we have set up. There are some others here from the audience. What are your capital improvement project funding priorities, and how should they be paid for? Tongue twister. What are your capital improvement project funding priorities, and how should they be paid for? And you get to be first.
Dang, I wish I had a minute to think about that. From a standpoint of capital expenditure, one of the things that's important to me, and there's many, but one that is particularly important to me right now is a project that we've already started on, and that's the development of the Hatbox Complex. We have 425 acres at Hatbox. We've developed about half of it. We have a plan for the remaining half of it. Some of that would be agricultural facilities that we're working on tomorrow afternoon at 5:30. There's a groundbreaking, there's a ribbon cutting, no, not groundbreaking, a ribbon cutting for the new livestock facility, which were the old hangars. The long, narrow hangars at Hatbox. The first livestock shows will take place there, moving from the fairgrounds. So the county livestock show will take place at Hatbox February the 21st, starting February the 21st. And then in March, the end of February, early March, the regional livestock show will take place there. We need to continue that effort at Hatbox to develop it. And I would say from this standpoint, it generates opportunity in the community to draw, gives us that place to play, but it draws people into our community that don't live in our community on a daily basis. Now, how would I pay for that? We did a study on doing a multi-use event center. The study came back and said it's going to be $750,000 a year short in providing its own support through operating income. So we decided not to build it. I think that was a great decision. We repurposed and did the hangars instead. So those can be used for livestock shows and other events as well. I don't know how we would pay for them, but we have had the City of Muskogee Foundation, who very favorably looks at matching grant opportunities. And I think our opportunity is there probably from a capital standpoint in addition to sales tax.
Would you repeat the question?
I'm not sure I can read it the third time. It's a tongue twister. What are your capital improvement project funding priorities, and how should they be paid for? What capital improvement projects would you do? The ones that you're going to have money to go do those, and how should they be paid for?
I agree with Bob. Hatbox is probably our only venue right now that we've got that we can really grow. Tourism is very important to Muskogee. We have found that, whenever we're looking at tax dollars, we need tax dollars from other people. We need our money coming in Muskogee. We don't have enough money to pay for it ourselves. We need to have tourism coming to Muskogee. And that's the only way we can do that. We had started, G-Fest, and that was bringing a lot of money in on that 1 week that would come in Muskogee. Our local businesses were gathering money, and that is tax money. Tourism is the only thing that we can do that promote to bring in more money. And I think that, if we fail on our tourism, our money, the tax money that's promoting the tourism for the chamber, for the Music Hall of Fame, we're losing our biggest chance of, increasing our tax dollars. So tourism is my answer on that one.
I agree with Randy on the tourism side, and I agree with Bob on the Hatbox side. I think Hatbox is one of our most untapped sources of income here in Muskogee. The event center, some ideas for it would be maybe partnering with our local tribes, maybe getting some more of our hospital money in motion rather than sitting in the bank. I think an event center that would draw outside people, you know, make it large enough like Claremore, Durant, you know, partner with the tribes and see what we can come up with. I mean, I think that would be a great support of all our motels, all of our hotels, all of our restaurants. Draw people in, you know, monster truck shows, rodeos. I mean, the rodeo, me and Randy actually really helped promote and bring in the rodeo at the Civic Center. Cassandra, very good friend of ours, rest in peace, she wasn't so for rodeo. She was like, oh, all that dirt in there. But we really pushed her to do that. And after the first one, she was just like, oh, this is amazing. You know, we need to think outside the box and see what we can do to put here in Muskogee to draw outsiders, draw visitors here to Muskogee to spend their money with us.
Thank you, gentlemen, and you've handled tough questions very well today. We are now going to address questions that have been handed to us from the audience. We will take these in the order that they are received, and we have a 10:30 cutoff time, so we'll get to that 10:30, then we will quit. I think that we may do this like the pop-up part of the quiz shows. If you raise your hand, if you want to jump up there and be first on one of these, I think, is that okay? I'm the moderator. Is that okay? Anyone have a big disagreement with that? Good. That's what we're going to do then. So here's your pop-up questions. First one, Muskogee County ranks in the top 10 in our state for opioid use and misuse. Do you have any ideas or strategies to combat this problem? Muskogee County ranks in the top 10 in our state for opioid use and misuse. Do you have any ideas or strategies to combat this problem? If we don't have a pop, we've got a pop-up answer. All right. And by the way, after your response, we're not supposed to do that.
I was with DOC for almost 7.5 years. I was with the Sheriff's Department under Lloyd Bickel as our interim sheriff. Opioids are something that affect all families, all income statuses, all levels of society. Get involved in, if you see something in your neighborhoods that just doesn't look right, don't be scared to call your local law enforcement and just request them to come by, shake hands, knock and talk, check it out. You know, get involved in, if you see something that doesn't look right, probably isn't right, call it in. Don't just go, man, I wish they weren't in the neighborhood. And it's in all neighborhoods. So take the time. Rob Frazier is a wonderful sheriff. He's doing a fantastic job. He's building on everything Charles Pearson did, got started. Reach out to your local law enforcement. Rex, I guarantee if you call him, he'll have one of his officers go check it out. If you see something, don't be scared. Reach out. Call it in. If they don't know about it in law enforcement, they can't deal with it. So.
You want other pop-ups on that?
If you'd like to.
I agree with what Dee is saying regarding law enforcement, but I think more toward how do we solve the problem would be a better way to approach it than just come afterwards and say, okay, now you're under arrest. Then you begin the part of being through the incarceration system. We've got to move toward those opportunities with Joy Sloan and others, McCoy's, and people that get people help. In addition to the help that they might get from their own medical insurance at their employer, to where they have that opportunity, if they have that addiction, that they can recommend help and get that through the appropriate insurance needs, meeting it. Other than that, I don't know. I can just say this. If we could get rid of the opium problem, we'd cut our workforce in our law enforcement division, in our PD, we could cut it in half today. Kind of an interesting thought, isn't it? To think the millions of dollars that we spend because of opiates.
You know, it's not that pusher on the street anymore. It's our medicine cabinets. It's our kids getting into our medicine cabinets. It's the doctors prescribing opiates. You know, it's so easy to prescribe a pain pill. And how many of you got pain pills up in the cabinet that you haven't used in 6 months? They're there. And I think our biggest problem is taking care of our home, securing our home, and our prescription drugs.
Brett, you mentioned that the police department has disposal. How many days?
Yeah, they do that, what, once or twice a year?
It's there all the time, but it's in their law.
Yeah.
It's a disposal system.
And it needs to see cooperation among the candidates. Look at, they're already cooperating. This question begins with a statement which quite often is the case in Oklahoma City, I know. The city has spent thousands of dollars hiring an outside firm to manage Hatbox sports facilities as well as manage a civic center and other facilities. What have these outside agreements done to increase use and brought revenue into our community? And wouldn't we be better off returning the effort back to the community where they have a vested interest in the facilities?
Just pop up.
Pop up.
I was one that recommended both of those things take place. Have they been successful? No, not at all. The one thing that we have learned through Spectra's agreement at Hatbox is the potential that Hatbox has in terms of use. Did they do a great job at Hatbox? No. Did they have significant turnover in management? Yes. Are we bringing that back in-house? Yes. And it will be under Brooke Hall's direction, if it isn't literally already today, and by the end of February, the Civic Center will be under new management by the city, and that has not been a successful thing at all. My recommendation on the Civic Center was that because we had the competition of the tribes and opportunities that we couldn't get into that entertainment market, it's the most underused facility this city has. It is absolutely. We spent almost $8 million renovating a facility that gets 10% use during the year. And did we do any good with Spectra management helping in that regard? No, not at all. Got a lot of fees involved in it, which made it unaffordable to use. And so we've rethought that. We're bringing it back in-house. But if you don't try some things, how are you going to know whether they work or not? Okay.
I want to reiterate what Bob said. You know, they've tried it and it wasn't working. Now they're moving back to bringing it local, which absolutely, positively, in my opinion, is the best option. We have very well qualified people locally to handle those positions, to operate those facilities, and make them productive. So, to reiterate what Bob said, absolutely, bring it home, bring it to our people here.
I am dead set against outsourcing anything that the city has. I think that if it belongs to the city, we need to manage it ourselves. I don't think we can have an outside company come in and take care of our local facilities of whatever we got, either the Civic Center, Hatbox, any of them. I don't think that they'll do a good job. They're there for their money, and that money is going back out of the city of Muskogee. I think we need to keep staying local and support our local people. So, anyway.
This will be our final question. It works out pretty well. She has one more question, and actually the next question we had, we can incorporate in the final what we're going to do. How will you address growing downtown Muskogee when there doesn't appear to be an appetite for the city or foundation to provide accelerated funding? Will you advocate for more funding, and how? How will you address growing downtown Muskogee when there doesn't appear to be an appetite for the city or foundation to provide accelerated funding? Will you advocate for more funding, and how, or for more growth, I suppose?
Pop up.
Pop up.
Let me just try this one. ton going on downtown Muskogee. And when you think about it, 27 applications have been submitted for the grant money that was made available through City of Muskogee Foundation. It's a 3-year, multi-year grant, so we get $300,000 a year. All of the first year's money is already committed. 27 different applications, and I believe it was 11 different buildings that were involved in that process. All that money's already committed. So we're trying to convince the City of Muskogee Foundation, let's move that funding a little closer, because we've already got commitments on the first $300,000. Is there any way we can accelerate that rate and get that money to be available any sooner? To say that the city could participate in that, we don't have any extra money laying around. If you're wondering, well, why don't you guys just go ahead and fund that? We don't have any money that we could say, hey, we'll just find $500,000 and put into downtown. We're using what we have through the resources that we have. City of Muskogee Foundation has been a huge resource toward downtown. The beauty of that is, what has that caused in private investment? You have nine buildings on Main Street that have been sold to new ownership in the last 12 months, maybe even the last 12 weeks. You saw the article in the Phoenix, great article, this past Sunday on Fawn and Jackie, I believe it was, that are redoing one of Ross Staggs' old buildings at about 107, I think it was, North Main Street. That's private investment that comes in, not all the funds coming from City of Muskogee Foundation or from the city, but that's private investment. And that's when we get success, is when we see private investment start to happen again in downtown Muskogee. There's been a restaurant renovated, repurposed in downtown Muskogee. Private investment.
You know, I can't think of one building downtown that Muskogee owns, the city of Muskogee. They're all owned by private individuals. What we need to do is basically motivate them to do whatever we need to do. I don't think there's any other services that are, maybe the restaurants. I don't think there's that many shops downtown. But, you know, what we can do is try to direct as much traffic to downtown as we possibly can. We need more entertainment downtown. We got several different new restaurants. We got American Pie, Matty Jane's. We got the station. We got the new tap room. You know, there's always something going on downtown, but we got to get people involved. And we need to get the people that own the buildings downtown to do something and invest some of their own money into it. But when it comes down to what can we do to revitalize downtown, we've been working on that for years. And it's on a private individual-owned building. We got to get them involved. You know, what can we do? We need services. We need something going on downtown that, you know, will draw people.
As I understand the question, the person that asked the question said there doesn't appear to be an appetite for the downtown Muskogee. I don't believe that's true. I think the city has a huge appetite for promoting downtown Muskogee. We've been working so hard as a city to promote it, to advance our downtown district. You know, something I think we need to focus on is the mall. We need to be stepping up, helping them out in any way we can to keep them here. I think it would be a huge detriment to our downtown movement if we lose the mall, which, as everybody sees and hears and rumors and everything else, that's a possibility. I don't think that'd be a good thing for Muskogee, but as far as an appetite for downtown district, I think it's huge. We have restaurants like Station 1, all the ones Randy mentioned. Muskogee, look at it. I own a building on South Main. Look at pictures and remember back 10 years ago how that whole area looked and how much more it's thriving now. I truly think the city of Muskogee is moving in the right direction on the downtown subject.
We will now have our summary statements. Before you go into that, we'll start the way we did. It'll be Mr. Coburn, Mr. Howard, and Mr. Boots. And whoever asked this question, you may kind of incorporate it. They said, at the end of your term, what will be your greatest achievement? You know, if you work that in there some way, we'll get extra bonus points from whoever that was that asked the question. So each of you will have 2 minutes for your final statement.
Thank you for coming today and listening to what we have to say. And I think you can tell all three of us are passionate about Muskogee. Growth is important. Growth is really important. And when you think about what Jerry said, I think it was, Jerry or DJ, 40 years with no population growth. What's important for Muskogee? Are jobs important? By all means. Is growth of population important? By all means. Is city sales tax important? I've already stressed that over and over again. I don't know how we can do that anymore. What else is important? Having an effective city management staff. We have the most effective city manager that I've been involved with in the last 10 years. He is leading in a way that is moving us in the right direction and has had huge success in year one. Mike Miller, great job. Continue your efforts. City staff, super job. And when Mike Miller pulls together a management team, they all work together. They all pull together to accomplish the goals. And that's cool to see. That's really neat to watch. That just played out. Main Street Muskogee couldn't be more important to what goes on downtown Muskogee. DJ, you're going to slow down on that time. I need some more time. Hatbox hangers could not be more important. Hope to see you at 5:30 tomorrow for the ribbon cutting. February the 21st for the agricultural show that will take care of there. Employee wages, are those important? Yes, and that's why sales tax has to happen, has to increase. Not increase the rate of tax, increase the amount of tax collected through our sales. Tourism. Tourism tied to Hatbox. Great opportunity for us. Tourism's huge. Let's don't cut the budget for tourism like has been suggested in the last few months. Let's figure out a way to be more effective in our tourism. And they're looking at that right now. City of Muskogee Foundation. If we didn't have it, the last year's success would be limited to almost nothing. Thank you, City of Muskogee Foundation. $90 million, $92 million in 2007. It's $140 million today. Bridges in Muskogee. I don't know if you've been to a Bridges graduation. But you'll get a chance to see growth up close and personal because it's growth in people's lives. It's changing their lives. 300 people have graduated through the Bridges program. Thank you for the success in this school.
You know, it's really hard to sit there and try to answer questions you don't have an answer to without looking stupid. But I'm willing to do this. I'm applying for a job. I want your vote. The last time I was on city council, we created this building, the Martin Luther King Center. We cleaned up Muskogee. We got over 700 houses demolished. Cleaned up neighborhoods. We got growth coming in. City water is still owned by the city of Muskogee. I fought hard to keep that city water in Muskogee's hands rather than outsourcing it. There were some things that were going on that weren't true. They were not giving us the facts. I dug deep and I fought hard and we kept the city water. And I think that's my greatest accomplishment from the last time. And I'm looking forward to working for you again. Thank you.
As I understand it, this is supposed to be our closing statements. I want to reiterate the fact that I'm not a politician. I work every day, I work every night, I work hard to support my family. I want to dedicate the time that it takes, and it takes an extreme amount of time, to put yourself out there to be on the city council, to be the mayor. I don't know if anybody knows, but you don't get paid for that. You're drawing zero wages. So for these people to step forward and put themselves in that position, to put themselves out there for that criticism, I think that's a great thing. As city councilman, you've got to make hard decisions. I'm prepared to make those decisions. I hope on February 13th you encourage your friends in Ward 3 to vote for me. If you don't vote for me, vote for Randy. Jerry mentioned cooperation. I think our city council really needs to be able to work together to accomplish way more. I don't think as a councilman you should be doing comical antics and just wasting time, impeding things. Work with the other councilmen. I think that's the difference between me and Randy and our incumbent. Be prepared, work together, work faster. I think so much more can be accomplished if they're working as a functioning unit. Vote February 13th for D. Boots. Thank you.